There are countless awards in the film industry, each created to celebrate the talent and creativity of writers, producers, and actors who are part of something new, inventive, or original. Among these honors are the Golden Globe Awards, the Critics' Choice Awards, the Screen Actors Guild, and the Directors Guild. Each one is prestigious in its own way, and receiving such recognition is a tremendous accomplishment. Yet, as respected as they are, there is still one award that towers above them all, the Academy Award, more commonly known as the Oscars. It remains the ultimate symbol of achievement in cinema, the highest honor that any actor, director, or filmmaker can hope to achieve. Each year, established actors turn down blockbuster franchise roles and instead gravitate towards smaller, independent films. Not because the projects promise fortune, but because they offer the possibility of artistic recognition. For many, the hope is simple: to create something worthy of an Oscar. Behind the scenes, producers, writers, and directors dedicate years of their lives to their craft, pouring in every ounce of energy, often sacrificing stability just to win world golden statue. That obsessive pursuit of excellence is what drew me into watching the Oscars throughout the years. Since its inception in 1929, the ceremony has become not just one of the oldest, but one of the most celebrated and prestigious awards in the entire world. The Oscar carries a sense of honor and uniqueness that cannot be measured or replicated. Winning one is an achievement that sets itself apart from every other accolade in cinema. What makes the Oscars even more fascinating is the atmosphere it creates. No matter how accomplished or seasoned an actor might be, no one walks into that ceremony with arrogance. On that night, all egos are checked at the door. Even Hollywood royalty find themselves nervous, humbled, and almost childlike, their tails tucked between their legs as they await the verdict of the Academy. Decades ago, the meaning of an Oscar win was transformative. To win meant more than a trophy. It meant guaranteed roles, immediate opportunities, and a status that elevated you to Hollywood royalty for at least a year. Studios will come running in droves, desperate to cast you in their next major project. For actors, it was the validation that their careers had entered an entirely new chapter. The ceremony was also great entertainment for audiences at home. The speeches were heartfelt, the tears were real, and the emotion broadcasted live on television felt genuine and captivating. Viewers turned in religiously, year after year, because the Oscars delivered moments that were larger than life. What added to the magic was the aura of mystery that surrounded celebrities back then. There was no Instagram, Twitter, or constant 24/7 access to their private lives. People didn't know what their favorite stars believed politically, what habits they indulged in, or what controversy might have been smearing beneath the surface. To the public, they were untouchable figures, almost mythical, belonging to a higher class of glamour and wealth. It was nearly impossible to believe that these stars were ordinary people at all. They existed in another world entirely, and the Oscars were the one night where audiences could go and see them shine. This brings me to the year 1989. Widely remembered by many critics and fans as one of the greatest years in Oscar history. The 70th Academy Awards, held at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles from 6 to 9 p.m., was a flawless event. Every minute of the show was purposeful. It never felt bloated or dragged on by filter. Each scheduled performance and moment carried weight and meaning. That year's lineup of films was remarkable. Men in Black, the first entry in what would become a beloved franchise, captured the imagination of audiences. Titanic, a James Cameron masterpiece, redefined what cinema could be and became one of the highest-grossing films in history. Alongside these giants was Good as It Gets, Good Will Hunting starring a young Matt Damon, LA Confidential, and A Long Way Home, films that still hold their ground today. Competition was fierce, especially in categories such as Best Cinematography and the leading and supporting acting roles. James Cameron's Titanic was massive, and many actors quietly admitted that they wished their films had been released in the other years, just to avoid competing with it. Cameron's direction was out of this world, and even then he was hailed as one of the greatest directors of all time, a title that many still believe he holds today. The atmosphere that night was charged with anticipation, fear, and nervous energy. The filmmakers and actors sitting in that audience were acutely aware that more than 40 million people were watching their every move, their mannerisms, their wins and their losses. On live television, their career could either reach the pinnacle of success or sink into a crushing disappointment. Titanic won 11 awards, tied with Ben-Hur and The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King for most wins in history. The film was a cultural phenomenon and featured a cast brimming with talent. Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet delivered a career-defining performance, roles so iconic that many still believe they never quite matched that level of brilliance again. Despite their many later achievements, the cast was overwhelmed with joy, and their triumph became one of the Oscars' most memorable moments. That year was also significant for Men in Black, which won the Oscar for Best Makeup, a well-deserved recognition. Will Smith, already a rising star, solidified his place as a bankable leading man, opening doors for more sequels and expanding his influence in Hollywood. On the other hand, major blockbusters like Jurassic Park, The Last World, and Air Force One starring Harrison Ford walked away empty-handed, despite their commercial success. This was proof that box office numbers alone was not enough to sway the Academy. But ultimately, it wasn't about who won or lost. What mattered was that every award handed out that night felt justified. Back then, the Academy choices seemed free of bias, quotas, or the pressures of politics. Voters appeared motivated purely by quality and excellence. The actors and actresses were beloved by fans worldwide, and audiences weren't rooting for anyone's downfall. They wanted to see their favorites succeed. The Oscars that year achieved a record-breaking viewership, with over 57 million people tuning in. That staggering number reflected genuine interest and passion for cinema. People weren't watching celebrities, they were watching legends, figures larger than life. Today, things have changed. Social media stripped away much of the mysteries surrounding actors, and often the awards outside their films overshadow their own screen performances. The ceremony has also become more politicized, with some films being nominated less for their artistic value and more for meeting diversity checklists or cultural quotas. Producers and writers have been accused of crafting films around trends rather than timeless storytelling, hoping to earn a nomination regardless of quality. That is why, when looking back then, I can confidently say that every movie nominated in 1989 still surpasses most of the films that will be nominated in 2025. The Oscars then were about artistry, passion, and true love of cinema, values that seem to have been forgotten into this industry. In conclusion, the 70th Academy Award stands out as one of the most successful and unforgettable nights in Oscar history. The atmosphere was charged with elegance, grace, and undeniable sense of anticipation, exuding glamour and charisma. But underneath all the dazzling performances, there was one thing on everyone's mind: the golden trophy. For the men and women in attendance, it was not about making statements, chasing headlines, or overshadowing one another with personal agendas. It was about recognition, legacy, and the lifelong dream of winning an Oscar. You could see it in their eyes, their nervousness, fear, the desperation not to walk away empty-handed. Every nominee carried the weight of their career in that moment. For some, this night could mark the pinnacle of their success, while for others, it might very well be their last chance to stand on that stage. The tension was almost unforgettable, yet it was also what made the ceremony so compelling. It reminded audiences that behind the fame and fortune, these were individuals driven by passion, ambition, and the desire for validation from their peers. What also made that night unique was the way the actors conducted themselves. They were respectful, professional, and entirely focused on the art of cinema. No one attempted to steal the spotlight with political speeches or divisive remarks. Religion, politics, personal beliefs, all of these were set aside. The ceremony was not a platform to debate, but a celebration of storytelling and performance. The respect shown between colleagues, even among rivals, was genuine and palpable. This kind of atmosphere feels noticeably absent today. In recent years, the Oscars have been overshadowed by controversies, speeches that spark heated debates, and a growing divide between audiences and the Hollywood elites. What was once a night of pure glamour and cinematic excellence has at times become a stage for personal battles and political agendas. That is why the 70th Academy Awards remain so cherished. It was a time when the industry's greatest talents gathered not to lecture the world, but to honor their craft, to celebrate the magic of film, and to share in their dream of holding one of the most prestigious awards in existence.